it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my favorite books of 2019. I have 12 for you, and I also have 5 runner-ups, so these are not in any particular order. There is no way I could choose the order of these books, and I have 11 romances and 1 thriller. I almost could label this my favorite romances of 2019, but there's that one book in there that blew my mind and I've been recommending it to everybody, so I am gonna go ahead and get to these books and share with you my top 12 of the year. For honorable mentions, I'm gonna go through those first, but I'm not gonna explain anything about them. But coming in close but not quite enough is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, Born Darkly by Trisha Wolfe, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, The Kingmaker and the Rebel King by Kennedy Ryan, and Bad Saint by Monica James. Okay, so I lied. I have a number 1. This is my favorite book of the entire year, and I read it last week. I knew I had to wait to film this video. I'm filming it on the 30th today because I am going to read 2 more books before the end of the year, hopefully. But I don't see those being top books, so I felt like I was safe now. But I did want to wait until now to film this because I picked up Wolfsong by TJ Klune, and this book has been out since 2016. And I just picked it up at the end of 2019. And it is a werewolf romance. And it is giant. It's almost 500 pages. And it was amazing. I was a diehard Twilight fan in high school. I read all the books kind of right before they became popular. I remember vividly going to the library on a school field trip. So we went to like the downtown library that I'd never been to before, and the librarians were sharing books, and I've been a reader all my life, so I was like totally excited about this field trip. And they shared about Twilight, and so I picked it up, and then I became obsessed, and I know I was reading them before the 4th book came out because I was super excited for the book 4 to come out, and went to all the midnight premieres of the early movies until they started getting bad. And I was obsessed. This is Twilight, but so much better because we have Ox, who is the main character, and he is just a nobody. His dad hates him. His dad leaves him in the first chapter, and he doesn't have friends. No one really likes him. People call him stupid. He's not really that smart. He's just your average guy, and he finds a family with these guys who work in this auto shop, and this mysterious family, kind of like the Cullens, move in next door, and this 10-year-old boy is just obsessed with him, and he's so excited to see him and meet him, and he's like, oh my gosh, and like chatter, and he learns that this boy hasn't actually spoken a word in like 2 years, and is like instantly obsessed with him and just talks to him all the time. And this is Joe, and I think this is when Ox is 15. So Ox is 16, and so it's actually Ox and Joe's romance, and that means that there's a 6-year age gap and they meet when Joe's 10. But nothing happens for like 10 years. So normally I hate it when it's like the girl is super young and the guy's super old, and the guy's just like grows up with her, and then like she seduces him and he like falls in love with her. I don't like those romances because I feel like it's creepy and it's kind of like grooming, and it's like you've known her since she was 10. But this worked so well. It was so slow burn. Ox even said like nothing can happen with Joe until he's 18, and then crazy crap's happening, so nothing really happens between them until Joe's 20. So there is never any like gross stuff happening or like uncomfortable underage stuff happening. It's all totally good and fine, and there's a lot of drama going on. I love the whole mentality of the pack and the found family, and this book is just perfection, and I can talk about it literally forever. So I'm gonna stop talking about it. I'm gonna order book 2 soon and devour that as well because I need to read more, and there's 3 books in the series, and book 4 is coming out in 2020. So favorite book of the year. I love a damaged hero, so it's no surprise that my next favorite book is The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. I freaking love Kerrigan Byrne. I have read now 3 of her books this year, 4 of her books. I've read 4 of her books this year, and I own so many more now, and I'm gonna get through all of them because I get to meet her in March, and I'm so excited. This one, our main character she falls in love with this boy at this orphanage, and they're young, and they like get married, and then there's someone at the orphanage almost tries to violate her, and he ends up hurting him because he's protecting his woman, right? And so he is sent away, and she learns that he dies in prison. And so she has spent the past, I think, like 10 years pretending like she's married to him. She's like, I'm a widow. And so that kind of keeps all the guys off her back, and she's working for the inspector as like a secretary kind of thing. And then this guy comes in, and he's the highwayman. He's just this guy who ravages everything and gets money from everyone. And he says that he knew her beloved guy from the past in jail. They were best friends, and he knew him when he died. And so he ends up kind of kidnapping her, and there's marriage of convenience, and then they fall in love, and it's perfection. It takes place in, I think it starts in England, but I think they go to Scotland, and I loved every minute of it. He's super damaged because he was in jail with the person that loved her in the past, and so he was very much beaten and treated horribly then, but this is so good. And I've also read book 5 in this series and loved it as well, and I'm gonna go back and read 2, 3, and 4. And then she's coming out with another book in the series later in 2020, which I cannot wait for. But if you love historicals, you have to read this. Another favorite of mine was The Bromance Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams. This one is a second chance romance between a married couple, and I really do think it was the characters that made me fall absolutely in love with this book. We have Gavin, who is a baseball player, and he actually has a stutter. I always forget to talk about that when I talk about this book. And he deals with it. He's a professional baseball player, and he's in the limelight all the time, and he has to deal with what people say about his stutter. Thea is just like, it's just a part of him, and she doesn't even realize it half the time, but they have become very distant from each other, and she says she wants a divorce, and so he joins a book club where they read romance novels, and he is reading this historical romance novel to try to win her back, because it's a second chance romance as well in the romance novel, and we get snippets of the novel he's reading too, so I love that as like a second kind of storyline in here. And this was just amazing, and I loved it, and I have an arc of book 2, and I am dying to read it, but I'm waiting until 2020 to pick it up. But it was so good. And if you like romances with married couples, like trying to figure things out, you need to pick this up. The next one should be no surprise, and that is The Bride Test by Helen Hoag. This is book 2 in the series. I don't remember what the series is called, but this is Kai's book, and he is the one with autism in this. Most of these, well, there's only one other one. In the first one, our main character, female, had autism, and she hired someone to help her figure out how to be in a relationship with men and like get comfortable with it. And this one, Kai is just like in this kind of comfortable routine he has, and his mom goes to Vietnam to find him like a mail order bride. Brings over Esme, who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment with her mom, her grandmother, and her daughter, and so she agrees to go to America to try to see if Kai wants to marry her so she can have a better life and start over. And Esme is just an amazing character. She wants so much in her life. She wants to go to school, and she wants to learn so much, and she is so eager to please Kai, because she's like, I want you to like me. And it kind of turns more into, she really ends up caring for him more than just like her ticket to America. And it's funny, like I was laughing at so many different parts in this. Kai is just so adorable and so lovable, and we get a lot of Quan in here, who is Kai's brother, who is Michael's cousin. So Kai's Michael's cousin for book 1. So good. I'm dying for Quan's book. It does say we're not getting it until 2021, but something else showed it was coming out in 2020, so I don't know when we're getting that. But an amazing series. The Kiss Quotient was on my top 10 of 2018, so this is definitely my top of 2019. The next one on my list is Making Faces by Amy Harmon. I finally read this book after everybody's been telling me to. Our main character is definitely a very quirky kind of girl, and she spends most of her time with her cousin. I think they're cousins, and he has, I forget what he has, but he's wheelchair bound, and she's like just always there for him, always with him. They're best friends, and she's always kind of from afar liked this guy who is the golden boy of the town, and he has everything, and he convinces his friends to join the military with him after they graduate from high school. And the worst happens where all of his friends die except for him, and he's left severely scarred, visibly like on his face. And so he comes home, and he doesn't know how he's gonna face everybody, because he kind of influenced all of them to leave with him, and he's the only one to return, and she's the only one that he really finds himself spending time with, because he works in the bakery next door to where she works, and they end up forming a relationship. And I cried so much in this book. Oh my gosh. If you want a tearjerker, you have to read this, and it wasn't even for the reason I was expecting. I don't know. Like, it just came out of nowhere, and I was just like, oh my god, and I lost it. So good, so emotional. Definitely recommend this. The next one you guys have been really tired of me talking about, I know, because I talk about it all the time, and that's Marriage for One by Ella Mays. This one's giant as well, but this one's a marriage of convenience novel, super slow burn. Our main character ends up having to marry this lawyer because of a specific reason I don't want to tell you, so it's a marriage of convenience, like I said, and he is such a dark and brooding character, and she's just like trying to get to know him, and I believe this one she like counts his smiles at the end of some chapters, like how many times he's even just like smiled at her. So even chapter 9, she says a number of times Jack Hathorne has smiled, not even a single one. And so it's super cute and funny, and she just wants to make him laugh and smile and just be a happy person. We do also get alternating chapters, which is awesome, and it was so good. If you like Mario and Zapata, you're gonna love this. I can't recommend this enough. The next book's another favorite of all time, and that is The Gravity of Us by Brittany C. Cherry. This is book 4 in the series, but I've only read books 1 and 4, and they all can be read as standalones. And this one, our main character, she is very whimsical, and she owns a flower shop, and she doesn't really get along with her sister, which is an important part of this book. And then she runs into Graham when she is delivering flowers to a funeral, and he is kind of stuck in this place where he ends up needing her help. And that's all I want to say. I went into this completely blind and fell head over heels in love with it. Graham is actually a writer too, so if you like that kind of writer-author romance, you're gonna love this. And it does have kind of a forbidden nature as well. It's very emotional. I teared up in this one as well. So good. I already want to reread it. I love this so much. One of my new favorite books of all time. Then I read at least 10 more books in this series. I double checked, and I started this year on book 6, and I made my way all the way up through 17, and then I read the spin-off books. So I've read a lot of this author this year, but my favorite was Lover Unleashed by J.R. Ward. This is book 9 in the series. This is Mandy's book, and Pain. And I can't tell you who she is or else it's a huge spoiler for the series, but Manny is introduced pretty early on. I think he's introduced in book 5? I don't remember. He's introduced early on, and now he gets his book at number 9, and he is a human doctor, and our love interest is a vampire. And so I love this series so much. I love this book. I think because I love a certain other character in this series is why I love Manny, which is kind of revealed at the end, which I talked about with J.R. Ward when I met her this year, which was like the best highlight of this year so far, and I just am obsessed with this series, and I do love this book. We did get a lot of vicious in this book because he is connected to Payne's character, and so some people didn't like that. It was pretty much another vicious book, but I love this because I got a new favorite, not brother, but a favorite male character in this series. Then my next favorite book is a new author I discovered this year, and that is Pestilence by Laura Thalassa. This one is like during the apocalypse. It's not pre or post-apocalyptic, it's during the apocalypse, but this is about the 4 horsemen who have come to the world to destroy it, and our main character is a firefighter, and she in the beginning is with a group of firefighters and draws the short straw of who's going to kill Pestilence when he comes through. So she pretty much shoots him and lights him on fire, but he is immortal. So he wakes up and he's mad and takes her as prisoner, and then they fall in love. So such a good romance. I am currently still in the middle of War. I need to finish it, book 2, and then book 3, Famine, comes out this year. They're just so original and good, and they're all about really bad guys falling in love. So I loved it. Speaking of the apocalypse, my next favorite book is Praying for Rain by B.B. Easton. This is pre-apocalyptic. Our main character is living in a world where everybody thinks the world is gonna die on April something. Everybody's been dreaming about this date saying the world's gonna end, and so they all take that as a sign that the world's gonna end on that day. So obviously if everybody hears the world's gonna end, everything's gonna go to mayhem. So it has, and they are quickly approaching the date. I want to say this starts like a couple of days before the apocalyptic date, and she meets this guy, and he is there, and he's determined to survive. He's not even scared of the date. He's like, I'm gonna live. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And she ends up kind of running around with him and trying to survive together, because obviously there's a lot of looters, there's a lot of people who are just like killing each other because, hey, everyone's gonna die anyway, right? So it's so good. Obviously they fall in love during it, and I loved it. And books 2 and 3 are finally coming out in January, 2 weeks apart. So this came out pretty early in 2019. I love B.B. Easton and can't wait for the rest of the series. Alright, so the non-romance book on this video is going to be No Exit by Taylor Adams. This one I read because my dad loves this book, and I decided to pick it up because I got it from Book of the Month, and I've been trying to read more thrillers. This one is so action-packed, and and I was freaking out the entire time. Our main character arrives at a rest stop because she is trying to get home to her mom who is dying of cancer, and there is a huge snowstorm, so she has to pull off the side of the road. Every highway is shut down, and she stops at a rest stop, and in the car next to her there's a girl in a cage, and there are 4 people in the rest stop, and she needs to figure out who it is and what to do. Obviously she can't call the cops because guess what? They're not coming. So this is crazy. It literally takes place in one night. It was terrifying. There were twists and turns that I was not expecting, and I was freaking out. It turns really gory too, which I was totally into. So if you like something that keeps you on the edge of your seat for the entire time, like page 50 there was a twist, you have to read this book. I don't think a year goes by where this author is not on this list, and that is The Risk by Elle Kennedy. This is book 2 in the spin-off series. I haven't read the play yet. I need to. It's gonna be in the video of my 2020 TBR, but this is Jake and Brenna's story. Brenna is actually the Briar University's hockey coach's daughter, and Jake is on the Harvard hockey team. He's the captain. He's the rival, and so they automatically kind of have a bantering relationship. It's kind of hate to love, definitely forbidden because he's on the rival team, but it's so good. I love this one so much, even more than book 1, and so I'm dying to pick up book 3, which I haven't yet, but I definitely will. I also, in my honorable mentions, forgot Kill Switch by Penelope Douglas. I did really enjoy that one this year as well. And those are the top 12 books plus 6 honorable mentions that I read this year. I forgot to say, I have read a lot of books this year. I don't even think I told you guys how many I read. It's over 200 this year, which only happened because I have listened to audiobooks. At least 30 of those were audiobooks, and that's why I was able to read so many. I read 234 this year so far. I'm hoping to read 2 more, so I'm hoping to get to 236. I've literally never broken 200 before in my life. I think the most I've read before is 177, but like I said, audiobooks really push that number up a lot because I'd never listened to audiobooks before, and I'm listening to audiobooks on top of my normal reading schedule because I listen to them when I'm cleaning, when I'm sewing, when I'm driving to work, so they saved my life too. That's all I have though. Let me know down below your favorite reads of 2019 and which one of these you loved as well. I honestly don't think I have, I think maybe half of these were actual 2019 releases. The rest of them are all backlist, but that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.